In 1950, Orlando was barely a blip on the map. 33,000 people. Orange groves, cattle ranches, swampland for miles. Nobody knew it. Nobody cared about it. Then Walt Disney whispered his secret plan to acquire 27,000 acres of dirt-cheap land in central Florida, and the city's fate was sealed. What followed wasn't growth. What followed was a complete erasure of everything Orlando could have become. Tourism didn't develop Orlando. It consumed it. It took a blank canvas and painted over it so completely that no one remembers what was there before. And honestly, locals have stopped asking. They're too busy choking on the fumes of a city that exists purely to serve visitors, not residents. The infection. Disney World opened in 1971 and immediately became a global juggernaut. SeaWorld followed. Universal followed. Smaller parks piled on. 13 major theme parks crowded into one region, generating $95 billion a year. That kind of money warps reality. It warps how cities develop. It warps what gets built, what gets ignored, and what gets sacrificed. Most cities develop around core infrastructure: ports, rivers, industries, downtown centres. Orlando is different. Orlando grew around an escape route. Every major investment, every dollar, every ounce of planning energy went into one thing: moving tourists from the airport to theme parks and back again. Everything else was an afterthought. You can see it from above. Downtown Orlando is surprisingly small relative to its metro population of 2.3 million. Just a handful of mid-rise buildings surrounded by endless suburban sprawl. Compare that to any major American city, and it's like looking at a skeleton. The infrastructure trap. Right next to downtown sits Interstate 4, a sprawling multi-level interchange that takes up more space than the entire downtown cluster. That infrastructure tells you everything about what Orlando became: a city designed to funnel traffic, not build neighborhoods. But here's where tourism really destroyed Orlando. In the daily lives of actual residents, the infrastructure doesn't serve the city, it serves the tourists. Every major road leads to a theme park. Every highway expansion is timed to handle peak vacation season. Meanwhile, residents are trapped in gridlock that's gotten worse every single year. The tolled express lanes were supposed to solve the problem. They didn't. They just created a tiered system where locals who can't afford tolls sit in the slow lane while tourists zoom past. That's the perfect metaphor for what tourism did to Orlando. It literally put poor residents behind the paying customers. The public transportation system is practically non-existent. You need a car to survive. You need a car to go anywhere, because the entire city is built around personal vehicles funneling people to theme parks. When tourists use their rental cars, it adds another 2 million vehicles onto roads that were already maxed out. Nobody planned for a city of 2 million plus people living around a tourist destination with 75 million annual visitors. The math doesn't work. The cost of living collapse. Pre-COVID, you could find a decent 3-bedroom apartment in Orlando for $800 to $1,000 a month. Now, a studio apartment goes for over $1,300. A 2-bedroom goes for $1,800, $1,900, sometimes $2,200. And that's not in the nice areas, that's anywhere within the city limits. Why? Because tourism created artificial demand. Property investors saw 75 million visitors a year and thought, if we can capture just a fraction of that, we're rich. Airbnb listings popped up everywhere. Hotels expanded. Corporate landlords bought up every apartment complex they could find. Locals got priced out of their own city. Now people who grew up here drive an hour outside the metro area just to find affordable rent, then drive back in for work. That's not a sustainable city. That's a temporary work camp for tourist industry employees. The identity theft. But the deepest wound isn't the traffic or the cost of living. It's the identity crisis. Every major city has a reason to exist. New York has finance and culture. Los Angeles has entertainment and beaches. Chicago has history and architecture. These cities attract tourists because of who they are, not in spite of it. Their identity came first. Tourism followed. Orlando has no identity outside of tourism. When you close your eyes and think of Orlando, what comes to mind? Mickey Mouse, Harry Potter, Shrek. You're not thinking about local culture. You're not thinking about a thriving downtown. You're not thinking about authentic neighborhoods or local institutions. You're thinking about corporate franchises that are so valuable that they operate like independent city-states. Disney literally has its own hotels, its own transportation system, its own security. Once you enter, you're not in Orlando anymore. You're in Disney World. That's not a metaphor, it's a business model. Disney operates parallel to the city, not integrated with it. You could spend a week at Disney World and never actually see Orlando. That's by design. Residents feel this every single day. They live in a place with no cultural identity, no downtown vitality, no reason to stay besides jobs in the tourism industry. The city has no soul because every ounce of its soul was sold off to people who visit for a week. The long-term failure. Here's the trap Orlando's caught in. Tourism is the city's only viable economy now. You can't undo that. 75 million visitors generate $95 billion. Without that, Orlando reverts to a mid-sized city in the middle of Florida with no natural advantages. So the city is locked in. It has to keep appeasing tourism, even though tourism is destroying the livability of the city for the people who actually live there. If Disney decides to relocate, if Universal moves elsewhere, if theme parks fall out of favour, Orlando has nothing. The city never developed a diversified economy because there was no reason to. Tourism made too much money. Now the city is completely vulnerable to whatever corporations decide is profitable. Meanwhile, every decision gets filtered through one lens. How does this affect tourism? Not, how does this improve quality of life for residents? Not, how do we build a real urban centre? Just tourism. Always tourism. Orlando didn't become a booming metropolis because of tourism. It became a hollow shell. It has all the infrastructure of a major city, the highways, the hotels, the commercial buildings, but none of the culture, none of the identity, none of the reasons a person would choose to actually live there instead of just passing through. The cost of living is astronomical. The traffic is among the worst in the country. There's no real urban core. The weather is unbearable half the year, and all of it exists to serve people who leave after 3 to 5 days. Orlando was destroyed by tourism in the most insidious way possible, by being successful at it. The more visitors came, the more the city warped itself to accommodate them. The more it warped itself, the less livable it became for residents. Now you have a city that's thriving economically and failing socially. That's the death by tourism nobody talks about. It's not dramatic, it's just the slow erasure of a place, one bad decision at a time.